I know how to gather people. I know how to identify some cool companies. But other than that, I just didn't know what I was doing, and so I was doing my best to like figure it out as I was going. And through that process, I really learned a lot about what we didn't have that our community needed. If a group like this is going to exist, there were just a lot of things that we needed to do different, we needed to do better, we need to be more efficient at in order for it to really work. And that's really what we've been honing over the last few years is the systems and the processes that can really, really support the companies that we invest in and really create a place where our investors can come and they can thrive and grow. Where we started, I took my last like $2-3 that was in my savings account to rehab the building. Did it on a shoestring budget, and like we started at zero, and it's grown, and it's been pretty freaking painful and also pretty freaking sweet.
Welcome to the Legacy Angel Network Venture Lounge, where nothing ventured is nothing changed. For Matt Helmintoller, press 1. For member services, press 2. For real raw startup stories, press 3. For all other questions or concerns, please wait on the line in our
Good evening, everyone. I'm Matt Helmintoller, and you're listening to Venture Lounge, after-hour conversations with founders and investors. These are the stories, insights, and conversations that you aren't going to find on the company website. Because the real lessons you learn in the startup world, the risks you take as an entrepreneur, the highs and the lows, the moments in your journey when no one else believes in you right before you break through, those are the moments that you just have to hear for yourself. So grab a drink and listen in to the men and women who are changing the world. Welcome to the Venture Lounge.
Matt, cheers to the first episode, dude.
Cheers, man.
Pretty cool.
It's exciting. I'm pretty pumped.
Yeah, man, me too. First episode of Venture Lounge. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Matt, let's just start by, the majority of people listening to this already know you, but I'd love to give them the opportunity to get to know you a little bit better. It's like a kind of one-on-one conversation with you that they might have not had yet, So just start with who you are, where you're from, and just share a little bit about how, like, the current state of things.
Yeah, man. So I was born in Columbia, South Carolina. My dad was in sales a lot and stuff, but he was also he was a old school independent Baptist preacher.
Wow.
So that's a whole different story. But I was born in the Carolinas. We moved around a ton when I was a kid. Moved from there to Greenville, then to Alabama. Actually, South Florida, then up to Alabama, and then But I'm mostly a Florida guy. Like I've lived in Brevard County for over 35 years. Met my my wife in high school at a small little private school here locally. And fell in love, and we started having kids pretty young.
You could say that, yeah.
like right out of high school young, and we've been married for 24 years, and have 3 freaking rad kids.
Right.
Who are our last one's about to leave the house now. So yeah.
Well, that, like, you started the family life young, like you're saying. It's always been a part of your dynamic. You feel like that kind of lit the flame for you a bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
To the entrepreneur spirit, I guess.
Yeah.
Or you feel like you always had that?
I felt like I was always a little older than I was, so there was always like this thing in me to kind of like push the envelope and try and be and achieve and go for like more than what people expected of me. So when I was growing up, I had this really insane stutter, and could not put whole sentences together without like freezing up or saying the same thing multiple times, and it was just this side of awkward, and it was difficult, and I'm old enough where when folks had people had speech impediments, speech difficulties, there was kind of a, kind of a stigma with that. Like, be kind of assumed that this person's not going to like get to where they want to go, or that they're not smart, or that they, so, even from like family members often to even, just into teachers and your peers and people that weren't your peers, like no one expected that much of you. So I was always trying to like, I don't know, kind of put one foot in front of the other and kind of go for it. That's been grilled in me from the time I was like a little guy.
Cool, man. Yeah, and maybe just your initial struggle with communication, like I'm sure for a lot of people here are the best communicator they know. You know what I mean? Like you're just genuine. You said the other day in the office, like it's all in how you communicate it.
Yep.
Like talking about, if there is a difficulty in the road, which there's going to be a lot with
Yep.
venture capital
Yeah.
investing, it's a
Yep.
high risk, high reward, like, not for the faint of heart kind of mentality. And so like communication is insanely important. And I think that's like a premise that this community that we're building is built on, as we're like fostering an environment that is very pro communication. That's not a transaction,
Right. Right. Yeah, and that transparency and communication is huge. Whether it's good news or it's bad news or it's whatever, it's not only laying down kind of like what we're bringing to the community, but also what we're asking from the community. I mean, because this is something this is not for a room full of elitists, man. We want to just see wonderful, wonderful things happen by existing here in Brevard. And it's going to take everyone working together to do it. And so, yeah, I mean, communication is a treasure. It's absolute key. Yeah.
So let's say we're 5 years in at this point, right? Just recently.
5 years.
Yeah, we were over at Intercoastal celebrating. Good times,
Yep.
man. Tell us about like the current state of things, where Legacy is, because that'll be kind of fun to contrast like how this started.
Yeah, I mean, so we started. Or do you want to know where it is, or where we're?
Yeah. What are we doing at Legacy now?
Right.
What's
Okay,
it look like? Yeah.
Okay. All right. So one of the big things that we've added, because our legacy is kind of a multifaceted force in our community. So we're not just finding cool companies to invest in, and we're not just supporting those companies, but we're gathering a community of people, right? Every single person that comes into the Legacy Lounge, which we'll get into in a second, here in Melbourne, every person that comes into this room is invited into this room, who joins our network, who's a part of the group. They all have these kinds of cool venture stories. They're people who are successful. They're people who are still on the journey, but they have different. We have engineers and we have doctors and we have straight up business people and market experts and product development people and all different types of backgrounds that come here, and they bring their level of expertise to what we do, right? So if I'm interviewing a company and I'm like, yeah, I don't really understand that, I can call one of our many members or one of our partners. And I can say, hey, can you come listen to this because you know more about this than I do? And we really work together as a community to determine, what companies that we might invest in, what companies that we won't invest in. But we use the expertise of the people in this room, and so it's super important for us to build a community around this, not just even from the what we can provide as far as value to these companies, but what we can provide for one another. I think that the relationship part, that's what I get passionate about. I get passionate about people, the right people in the right room doing the right things at the right time. And I feel like that's our sweet spot right now. That's what we've hit here in Brevard County, because most people don't know how wonderful this community is and how much opportunity there is here, not just for funding, but for support. And it's a great place to raise your family, but to build a community around this where people are having fun, they're doing it together, they're learning from each other, they're sharpening each other. It really, really makes this thing, I think, what it's supposed to be, which is a community-first investment group where you care about people first, and then the rest comes.
Right.
But that's what makes this fun for me. I'm all about finding little unicorn companies and making a lot of money. That's great. But I'm in this for the community.
Very cool, man. That's an articulate answer. Just being new to the community, Aubrey and I being new to the community, I feel like what we noticed immediately was like at these events, which are fabulous events, good food, good drinks, and informative. Like we learned a ton of being new to the scene here in Brevard, coming from Ohio because of the events, essentially.
Yeah.
And getting to talk to the members and putting the pieces together of like who all is involved in this. But then you have members staying late at events, like having one-on-one conversation with each other.
Yep.
That's just so cool. This mentality, like if you have a problem and you're going to have a lot in a startup environment, you don't necessarily have to solve that problem alone. Like people are teaming up to grow together, essentially. And that sounds like simple in concept, but community is like hard in practice. You know what I mean? And,
it is.
And we're like managing to do that in a way that is actually working. It's growing and
Yeah, and I mean to your point, man. That's one of my favorite things about this place is when we decided that we're going to provide a space for local investors to be together and to do some cool things together. We decided that we're going to go ahead and kind of go for that and do it, kind of venture out a little. We hoped it would work. We hoped people would be like, yeah, this is great. Let's come in. Let's do it. I'm all about it. But you never really know, And I remember the first night when we had our first event. I think we had, I don't know, about 25, 30 people here, something like that. I was so blown away at the way people were connecting. I think that for me was just huge. I'm a connector. I get really, really, really excited when I'm able to connect this person to this thing or these people to these people. That's something that I thrive on. And I remember sitting in the corner of the room. I almost wanted to go into tears because it was so freaking cool. Everybody in the room was just enjoying each other.
Right.
And there was no sales pitch. There was no anything. It was just people in the right room doing the right things and having a great time. And that's really, really been just super sweet to watch that develop. And it's gotten even better and better.
Well, and then just the functionality of that too, man. Seeing how like it's not us, it's like these members becoming a part of coming together in real community.
Right.
They become that curated support for the investments they want to see succeed. So it's very we're not like pulling the strings here. You know what I mean? It's very focused on just the communal group effort and bringing like working together on something we all care about. And so there's like this vested interest that we all have that's kind of maybe hard to find in like a traditional business environment where you're just exchanging a product for a service. This is something different. We know this is something different.
Absolutely, man. I was talking to I didn't even tell you this before. This is so freaking cool. I was talking to a buddy of mine yesterday, Dwayne Carpenter from Carpenter Kessel, and I was giving him an update on a couple of the investments, and he actually said, "Hey, man, I know this guy who does A, B, C, and D. Super successful guy, market maker kind of a guy, but like super sharp." And he's like, I know this one company that we're investing in is having a little difficulty. I can actually call this guy. He'd be happy to actually get connected. So our members and the people that have gotten engaged with this, it's not even that they're just even lending their own expertise. They're actually lending their own networks to it, which is what really makes this thing super powerful. When they're not only like lending their own expertise and their own like stories and their own ventures and their own, but when they're saying, "Hey, my community, I want my community to become your community," that's when this thing just gets super powerful. Because my reach, I have a decent reach, but my reach is very limited. I mean, it's still limited, And so, but when other people are coming around that say, "Yeah, I believe in this," and by the way, I know A, B, C, D, E, and F, and they would love this, and they start bringing this to, then it expands everything that we can do, not only in community and in relationship, but the stuff that we can do for Brevard County, the stuff that we can do for these companies that we're investing in. So but yeah, they're really freaking sharp, man. I mean, we really have, I think, some of the best people in Brevard County coming and hanging out in this room. I mean, it's been sweet.
Yeah, and I'd love to break down a little bit more of who those people are, because it's just fun to brag on the amazing people we're around. You know,
yeah.
But to start with, Matt. Take us back, like how this thing gets started, like where the idea come from, and
Sure.
I guess what's the vision?
Sure. Yeah. So this started back in November of 2017. The idea for it was kind of something that kind of developed. So I was working with Wild Manta Ventures with Tim Reynolds. A little shout out to Tim, Timmy. He doesn't like being called Timmy. Only I can call him Timmy, and he doesn't like it. So Tim had hired me to kind of be kind of a mouthpiece, if you will, or a kind of someone who would herald his company in the community. So I know a lot of people in the community from a past life. I had a nice platform here in the community, so I had a lot of connections. And he called me up one day, or his wife did. I went in and didn't know that I was in an interview. It's kind of a funny story. I owned a small business, and I was doing some stuff with FCA, and he calls me in. I thought it had something to do with my stuff. And we're like 10 minutes into this conversation, and I just looked at him. I said, "Tim, this feels like a job interview." He said, "Well, it is." I said, "Okay, what do you do again?" You know, I think I was just waiting for my opportunity to pitch my company and what I was doing, and I wasn't even paying attention to what he had going on, and which he doesn't know until now, I guess. And then I found out what he did, and his goal, his mission was, he didn't just want to. He has a great background in commercialization, which is basically taking, seeing a problem and taking multiple technologies and pulling them together to create a solution for one problem. That's what he's really good at. He's really, really good at solving those kinds of problems and taking an idea and creating multiple products out of it. And he's brilliant at that stuff. But he didn't just want to make products. He wanted to build companies. He wanted to say, he cared about the local economy. He said, hey, if we could export a product and we could import $1, we win. So we need to be exporting physical products, software, services, whatever we can, importing dollars, creating jobs, creating companies. And that was his goal. So his goal at Wild Manta was to do all of that stuff. So, which is a good goal. It's one of our core goals here at the network. And as we got going, we were now I'm the guy that's in the community, and I'm running into a lot of people who want to see viable ideas, a lot of investors that want to do this type of investing, and they want to see things that are viable. And they were seeing a lot of things in this community that were not viable. And so I went to Tim one day. I said, hey, we should get a little group of guys together that, guys and gals that might want to see some of this stuff that is coming through our vetting processes, because he wouldn't work with just any company. He wouldn't build anything for any company. He was too ethical for that. He was just if he didn't think it was viable, he wouldn't touch it. So, but a lot of these folks need funding, right? They have great ideas. I mean, we have more engineers per capita right here than just about anywhere in the country. So we're not short of great ideas. But we were short of capital, and people are short of capital. So I said, why don't we gather some of these folks, and let's gather some people in the community, and let's pull them together to look at some of these things that we want to work with. And we had that idea, and then it just didn't happen. We both got busy. We never did it. And then one day, through a series of events, I needed to make some decisions as to what I was going to do in my career. And nothing bad, nothing, I wasn't being fired or anything. But it was just kind of, the writing was on the wall. It was Tim was moving in a different direction with what he was doing, still believed in this. And Tim came to me one day. He said, hey, Matt, remember that idea you had about gathering people? He goes, what if you did that? start a company that does that. You gather people around this kind of stuff. I said, that's a good idea. I like that. So 1 week later, I started Legacy Angel Network. and my whole the reason why I called it Legacy was because that's what we wanted to create. We wanted to create legacy. We want to create a community where our kids can look at this place and say, yeah, this is a special place. I could raise my kids here. I can raise my kids here because there's opportunity here. So if we're all thinking about the future and we're thinking about what we're handing the generation behind us, and we live that way, there's we become much less limited, and so yeah, I started Legacy Angel Network at that point and started going out and trying to find some folks that would kind of join, and then we needed a place, and I, at the time I didn't have a lot of money, and I had a relationship with the business development guy, James Marshall, up at the city of Palm Bay. He's not there anymore. But I went to him and we conjured up this idea of, what if we took Legacy Angel Network and we put it in one of their buildings that they don't use. And I said, well, what's the cost on that? Do you think we could do it for, cheap? Like I've heard of these $1 or, he's like, oh yeah, we could. I'm like, what? Okay, yeah, let's do it. So I end up going to look at the Pelican Harbor Marina. It's 8 acres right on the water with a 1,200 square foot space. And James is like, well, what about this? I'm like, yeah, please and thank you. And sure enough, our first place where Legacy Angel Network started was Pelican Harbor Marina, Palm Bay, 8 acres on the water, $1. I had to write a check for that $1 because they had to have a legal thing, whatever. So I went and started everything, wrote them a check for $1, and I had a 1-year lease on, and that's where we started the network. And then we started gathering companies in there, started bringing in people and investors, trying to get people to commit to joining, and then also coming around these businesses that we were bringing in. And yeah, it was I know how to gather people, I know how to identify some cool companies, but other than that, I just didn't know what I was doing, and so I was doing my best to like figure it out as I was going. And through that process, I really learned a lot about what we didn't have that our community needed. If a group like this is going to exist, there was just a lot of things that we needed to do different. We needed to do better. We need to be more efficient at in order for it to really work. And that's really what we've been honing over the last few years is the systems and the processes that can really, really support the companies that we invest in and really create a place where our investors can come and they can thrive and grow. So this is where we started. I took my last like $2-3 that was in my savings account to rehab the building. Like did it on a shoestring budget, and like we started at zero, and it's grown, and it's been pretty freaking painful and also pretty freaking sweet.
Well, Matt, I mean, I love the $1 for a year lease story, dude. I think that's a perfect example of like what can happen in this kind of network community environment. Like that dude wouldn't have done it for anybody off the street. You know what I mean? He really has to believe in you and your vision and just like something else other than the amount of capital that you can hand to him up front, And right. I think that's the kind of environment that we're fostering here.
Yeah.
Just like Tim Reynolds' point, it's like not just any idea. We're not just throwing anything in front of the investors. We have to see them all at the next event if something goes wrong. You know what I mean? So we're like in this community where we really want to see people succeed, you know, and in turn you have people like that want to see you succeed as well. So to get to the point, I guess with that kind of like network, community mentality in mind, you've brought and solving problems. You have a lot of problems to solve with this new idea. So like, who have you brought around the table, like to talk about some of the people in the network that you're excited about that are here? And, it's hard to not setting you up to not name somebody. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well,
Just first
you know
one that
what?
comes to mind. You're all in for. You know,
I know I can talk about the people on our website. I would probably start with Scott Washburn. Scott Washburn owns a couple of local Chick-fil-A's. He was one of my first adopters, really, in this thing. Not my only adopter by any stretch of the imagination, but he from the get-go, he believed in our why. He believed in our wanting to build a better community, to put people first, to create this ecosystem in Brevard County that can support every different kind of company that's out there. And he bought in right from the very beginning, and he was a member for several years before he was a partner. And he came on, and his business intellect is absolutely phenomenal, and it's grassroots kind of stuff. It's not stuff that he like went to school for and like, oh, I learned how to, you know. He has the education, he has all those things, but it's school of hard knocks stuff. It's just, you know,
he's operating businesses.
Yeah, yeah. And he's seen a lot, he's learned a lot, and he's been through it. He's smart, he's well connected. He's just a good dude, and he's a solid guy to have around you as a human being first, before an investor or anything else. He's just a solid guy. He's just a solid dude, and so having him in my corner has been humbling, to say the least. There's another guy, Chris Hughes, owns Galley Electric. Most people think of an electric company, they're there to fix your water heater or something. He's got this huge expansive. He's bought this business years ago, and he's taken it and he's broken it up into multiple departments, and he's expanded this thing all over the place and grown it to be an amazing business. He's been helping us with EOS and a bunch of.
Man.
I mean, just as solid, and again, another as solid of a human being as you could ask for. We have guys that are in the security world, like a Mike Ballard, who is a solid human being, understands business, has a high level of know-how and intellect when it comes to cyber security, and we deal in a lot of that stuff in different companies that we look at. Mike swoops in. He can define what's good, what's not good pretty quickly. Again, solid guy. I mean, I could just keep on going down the list. I mean, we have Max, who's a full-time investor from Germany. The guy's invested in over 40 companies. Just a solid human being, great family. He's got like 17 children. No, not 17. He's got like 5 kids, 6 kids. I don't know. I lost count, but like just a wonderful family, man. Great guy. Yeah, the list goes on. Jason Shy. I mean, we could just keep on going. Chuck Smith, Precision Companies, not Precision Companies. Guardian Manufacturing, Jason Shy's Precision Companies. But yeah, I mean, all of our partners have been absolutely tremendous. And what's great about having all of these guys around the table is I'm a gatherer of people. I care about our community. I have a decent level of discernment, but I'm a gatherer, right? That's my gift. That's the thing that I do really, really well. And these guys have a business acumen that just takes what we do to a different level.
Right.
And they've been very helpful. I mean, when I say helpful, they've come in and they've looked at us first. Even before they looked at other companies, they looked at us first and they said, all right, really, really cool. What about this? What about this? What about this? So the same stringent things that we take other companies through, we've been through. And it's by gathering the right kind of people kind of around it. But we also have, we have other guys and gals that we go down a path with, Lillian Meyer, who's just absolutely tremendous. She's one of our advisors. Julie Rieger, ex-president of 20th Century Fox Entertainment. So on a marketing level, few people attain, the level of expertise that she has and experience that she has. we have her. She's a phone call away. We have Tate Rule. We have connections with other syndicates across the state, up in Manhattan. We have a lot of really smart people that come around us. Jim Farish from across the way, brilliant guy when it comes to the markets and running a business.
Excellent wedge salad too, Jim. I'll say the wedge salad with the blue
excellent
cheese
wedge salad
and the filet.
I'd also say blackened salmon is pretty spot on.
Good morning. We are Jennifer and Charles Coley with the Coley team at Remax Aerospace. We are full-time real estate agents here in Brevard County. Out of about 106 agents, we're number one right now, which is awesome to say.
One of our guardians that we work with that sends us quite a bit of business has dubbed us as a turnkey realtor. We handle everything from setting up estate sales for our clients to today we're dropping off Spectrum boxes for a client that had to leave town early. We have had to rehome dogs. Everything we can do to make the process as easy as possible for our clients is what we do. When we put a home on the market, we start with professional photography. We also include Matterport videos, which allows buyers to virtually walk through the property. We stage vacant homes, kitchens, bathrooms, bedrooms. We don't charge any additional for that. Everything is 100% our expense until we get to the closing. I love being in real estate. I love the people that we meet every day. I love the friendships that we make. I do love looking at houses. Even on vacation, I'm looking at houses.
Some of our greatest friends now came from the real estate industry.
We don't just sell a home or represent a buyer or seller. We build friendships. So the people that we sell to, we are in contact with years later. And I have clients that'll call him or call us and say, can you come over and take a look at this? Or what AC guy should I call? Years later, 5, 6, 7 years later, I have clients calling me.
Can I just say this Widow Jane, it's next level.
It's pretty next level, man.
It's pretty sweet.
You're more, more about these drinks than me, but
but I'm still kind of a novice. I'm not. It's. I think Scott knows more. Our mutual friend Scott.
He does.
Knows way more about bourbon, and Jim way more than Scott.
Right. Jim, is Jim the plug for all this right here? Yeah.
Jim is. There's very few things that we have in here that Jim did not recommend. Which I'm just thinking about it. He's the one I'm buying it from, so this might be a setup.
Okay.
He's making money on me every time he recommends something. So maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. Maybe I need to do more research.
Right. I got you.
Yeah.
Get some kind of.
I think it's a setup. It might be a setup.
So let's talk about first podcast. It's obligatory that we talk about the podcast. So let's just start with maybe a little bit into what's your goal, what the goals are here. I'll just say initially we talked about having these real raw startup stories, essentially.
Yeah.
This kind of long form content that's we really want to have conversations with people, things that you're not getting on someone's website,
Right.
like the real working behind the scenes kind of stuff. And I think this platform allows us to do this essentially. And then also is top of mind, man, is I'm just thinking about, we just want our members, our community to have access to the most relevant conversation, the most cutting edge stuff that's happening on the East Coast,
100%.
And so we need and are excited, as we're lining up guests to provide the right people spotlight that keeps our members in the know, that keeps our network in the know,
right?
And excited about the right things, because there's just the East Coast specifically, man. I mean, just being outsiders, we really didn't know how much was here until you meet the Seafair Corp guys, and you meet guys that are doing all the different things in aerospace. A lot of really smart engineers walking in here with fully patented ideas,
right? Right.
And they just need those other components,
Yep.
To make it happen. And so,
yep.
I don't know, man. What do you envision?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you hit it. I mean, so much of what makes a company and defines a founder is not what happens after they succeed. It's everything that they do on the way. It's all the lessons that they learn on the way, the stuff you don't see on the website.
Right.
Right. It's
Right.
the hard lessons learned. It's all those things, and I think it's really important too. I mean, I'm pretty passionate about this. That people love to get around you when you've had the victory, right? When you've had your victory, you've won, you've hit the pinnacle of whatever, blah 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 blah. Very few people celebrate you on the way. Very very few people come around you and learn from you in the journey, right? I think that's where your most valuable content is, and your most valuable lessons are, and the best education is walking with people who have ventured, right? Who have just said, hey, there's something I want to try.
Yeah.
And the people that just kind of go for it in this life. And there's so many lessons that are learned there. And I, my hope with this podcast is that those are the stories that we can uncover. That's the stuff that we can pull out of our guests to share with our viewers, to share with our listeners, to say, hey, look, this was my idea, but even to get to this idea was a struggle. I had to go through this, and this to get here. And that's when I was just getting started, And then, so what's beautiful about that is that it makes everybody real. You know what I mean?
Right.
It makes everything. I mean, everything. These are just people, right? We're just people. Our listeners are just people, and everyone's got this, ideas of things that they want to do, ways they want to venture out in their life, whether they're starting a business or they're doing something else. And I think that listening to stories of people going for it, and the struggle, and also the happy and the goofiness, all the other things that happen.
Yeah.
I think that it allows us to learn a lot. That's how you learn from each other. It's that rawness, that authenticity in conversation. Where the walls are down, we're not here to impress anyone, and we can just have honest, open conversation. I think that's where a lot of people are going to learn the most.
Right, man. And in those open conversations, I think listeners and other people in the network that are connected to these founders, and I think that opens up the opportunity to maybe hear a problem that they can solve for the founder.
Yeah.
Maybe hear, continue this conversation in real life. That's maybe that's a lost art. What I feel like what struck me about Legacy was the in-person meeting, the offline conversations is a lost art specifically in the startup world right now. It's just that online to offline thing. Maybe there's these startups are having offline conversations in boardrooms, but you just don't really have that opportunity to, maybe a software company doesn't have that. It's a couple guys doing it together or whatever. You know what I mean? They don't have that opportunity to, spend time with their investors or do that kind of in-person connection.
Yeah.
And so this platform's not Venture Lounge isn't just about people listening in passively, but the opportunity for them to identify how they can connect with these people in person,
Absolutely.
and get to know a member better or get to know a founder or investor better and just accelerate the mission, the conversation that's already happening here.
Right.
This isn't these couches, we moved them around a little, but there's already people having conversation. This isn't a set.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
This is our location.
Correct.
And so that's
Which is pretty rad.
yeah, man.
We have a pretty sweet spot.
Right.
It's
Right.
pretty cool.
It is, man.
Yeah,
You guys put the real sweat equity in yourselves with it. Scott Marsh built the wall. I don't know what would you call this wall, Scott?
Yeah.
Anyway,
It-
Matt, Scott did it with his bare hands.
He
mean,
did.
Come
but,
on.
And
yeah.
there was actually it was much like the network. There was no plan. We knew it was a huge wall. We knew that we weren't going to try and put art on it. So Scott made it into art.
Yeah.
You know, I picked the color, he did everything else, and yeah, I mean, it's freaking. He's got the Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, he kind of is, man. We got some really wild people on the team that just get shit done, man. That's what you need.
It.
You know what I mean? That's venture capital.
GSD certified.
Yeah.
It should be on the business card. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know, man. I think that offline component just has a certain edge to it that that we're not going to replace with something like this. This is all in, I guess, to complement the main vision, which is these like this investor community coming around companies and helping them develop, fund them, and for everybody to win.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if this podcast that we're doing, I mean, we want it to be fun. We're going to goof off. We want to have a good time. But if it's not helping people, then it's kind of missing the purpose of our network. And that's
Right.
really what we want to do is we want to kind of break down those barriers, those walls, and we want to be able to help people that listen to it. We want them to enjoy the stories that are coming out of Brevard County. Enjoy the stories that are coming out of people that have just freaking gone for it and had to go through A, B, and C to get there. And there are a lot of things that you can learn just from those conversations. And I think that's what's going to make this thing really, really pop. It's going to be really, really special for everybody.
Yeah, man.
Including us, man. I'm looking forward to getting these guests in here and just having a good time with them. Straight up, just like getting to know them better. Because most of the guests that we're going to bring in, these aren't people that we know super, super well. So it's going to be fun just to like for us to even learn and to grow and to get more educated through these goofy conversations that we're going to have with them. And it's going to be fun.
Again, just being fresh here, just a couple months in, Matt, I feel like in the amount of time we have been here, it's just cool to hear about where you're all at, see where you are now, and just be a part of the development. I just, in summary, where are these recent conversations we've been having, going through EOS?
EOS.
All right,
EOS, there you go.
Going through EOS, those 1, 3, 10-year goals. How has that kind of stoked your imagination to what this can be? Because we're really putting, this isn't all just theory. We're putting those practical objectives in place every week,
Right.
To meet actual tangible goals.
Right.
And that's happening. We've seen it start happening. Obviously, well before we were here, but just getting to be a part of those conversations as well. How has that? Where has that led your imagination? And maybe talk a little bit about 2023, what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, our goal is to. This is a lofty goal, but I don't think it's an impossible goal because of our location, because of where we are here in Brevard County. The East Coast of Florida, man, has just tremendous opportunities. It's one of the best places in the country to live. Most engineers per capita. There's a ton of innovation here, but there's also now a ton of companies that can support that innovation, which did not exist 10 years ago. So if you're a startup and you're trying to think, where can I go get capital? Where can I start my company where there's going to be low taxes? Where can I start my company where I'm going to have support? Brevard County. I mean, this is actually the place to be, and that's what we're trying to create here. And so where I see us going in 2023, our goal is to become the largest community-first investment group in the United States, hands down, bar none. That's our goal, and it's an extremely attainable goal. So next year, we're hoping to add at least 150 new members to our group, and one of those goals too will be to add more of these venture lounges. So we have a venture lounge here in downtown Melbourne. It's a private investor club. It's only for members and the companies that we work with. But Brevard's a big county. It's a really, really big county. So we need more of these spaces for other members around the county to be able to get in and to gather. This lounge is theirs. It's their place. So we want our investors coming here during the day, using the Wi-Fi, enjoying the space. Make yourself a drink, have a good time. but we want to take these venture lounges and we want to expand them, through Brevard County so that these can be in multiple communities. And that's really, I think, where we're going to thrive, is when we can get into multiple communities, and we have investors from every community. But you should, if you really are in it for the community, you shouldn't get one big place and say, okay, investors, hey, everybody come here. You don't want to do that. You want them to thrive in the community that they're planted in, where they've planted their family in. You want that community to do well. So in order to do that, in order to reach that, you need more of these venture lounges across Brevard. And so that will be a goal for next year, that we're able to do one or two more of these lounges in Brevard County. That's a huge goal. Getting 150 new active members on top of the ones that we have, that's another big goal. And I think it's extremely attainable. Because people want to be around this stuff. They want to be in the room. They want to be a part of the community. They want to see good, qualified deal flow. They want to know that the company that's bringing that deal flow to them is taking those companies all the way down the road. We're not just investing and hoping, right? We're investing, and then we're staying down the path of these companies until they eventually give their investors, hopefully, a return. And so what we've created and what we're continuing to innovate and create, I think, the largest community first investment group in the country, but B, a business factory model where companies can come in and they can enjoy this beautiful 360-degree platform that we've created, where it doesn't matter what stage your company's in, you can come in, you can rest in it, and if we choose to go down a path with you, you're going to get support at every level. And I think it's unique. I think it's needed, though. It's absolutely needed, and I think the market is confirming that. I mean, we've seen the growth, we've seen the trajectory of where we're going, and I think the market has responded really, really well to what we're trying to do here in Brevard.
I agree, man. Yeah, and I just personally, we believe and took the leap to move here from Ohio because we believe in you guys and like getting to know the members. Like we believe in the people that are around this. You know what I mean? It just becomes so clear to you that there's something exceptional happening here, or when there's so many exceptional people in the room. And so I think we're on the right track, and the early adopters around us feel the same way. And now it's just about persistence to make it happen, man. I think it's just a matter of time,
Yeah, absolutely. And in the meantime, too, again, we get to educate. So it's I'm looking forward to more of these podcasts coming out because we get to literally, sit down, sit folks in the room, and people get a taste for, what it's like to be a part of Legacy Angel Network, and they get to hear from people who are in the room.
Right.
I just think it's I think this podcast is going to be really sweet for a lot of people, including us. I think it's going to make all of us better.
For sure, man.
Yeah.
And just to give the people listening the tools to make better, smarter, faster decisions with their investments. Maybe they're investing in the company or their potential prospect. Right. And so it just it accelerates the conversation that's already happening here. And
Yeah.
So really cool to hear more about your story to start, man.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Yeah, this is going to be just a freaking awesome amount of fun, man. I just can't wait. I can't wait.
Tell people what the best way is to kind of get in contact with us if they're interested in being a guest or want to learn more, or just about the network in general. I'm sure we'll be touching people who are hearing about us for the first time. So
So there's been a really sarcastic person that's been sitting in the background right behind us this entire time, and you would want to email jbeck@legacyangelnetwork.com if you have any questions about the network or what we do, how we roll. If you want to come in, you want to sit down, you want to have a drink, you want to have lunch, whatever. She is the person to connect with. She's our communications manager, and she's she's a badass.
Communication connoisseur.
She is. Yeah, she is. Yeah, she's a very, very talented force of nature.
She just has an absolute look of disgust on her face right now.
I'm not even gonna look. I'm not even gonna turn around because I know right now.
She's definitely one of the most pleasant people to email or conversate with, man.
I'm looking forward to more of these podcasts where we can mess with her, and maybe we'll mic her one day and she can answer back. But I want to.
That'd be dangerous.
Publicly embarrassing her would be really sweet. For me.
Would, man. It would. Matt, thanks, man. This is a great way to kick it off. Hear your story, and looking forward to the future. Yeah.
Cool, man. Cheers, brother.
Yeah, for real.
Yep.